The recently held NATO summit in Madrid had the prime focus to find ways to thwart the Russian offensive in Ukraine. But interestingly, the summit also gave space to discuss about another country that is thousands of kilometers away from Ukraine. Western sanctions have largely omitted Mali in the past, but now they are back with a concern about the West African country given the fact that Mali has turned into a Russian stronghold. Hello and welcome to TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm your host Vedika, and if you haven't subscribed to the TFI Global channel yet, hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon to receive all the latest updates. And please install our Apple and Android mobile app. The link is given below in the description. Russia was never thought to have the best chance of gaining influence over Mali. Traditionally, the African country was deeply rooted in French and European influence. The European training mission in Mali and the United Nations peacekeeping operation MINUSMA, which included 1,600 troops from 23 EU countries, were allotted by the big powers to fight terrorism in Mali. But the military allotment had nothing productive that favored Bamako. Instead, radical Islamism started spreading like wildfire in the West African country. Bamako recently abstained from voting in the UN, condemning Russia's invasion of Ukraine. For a country with no previous ties with Moscow, such an act was proof of Mali shifting its political and security loyalties. On the brightest side, it was a welcome call for Moscow to get into the West African terrain. Russia thus effectively started filling the void left by European countries, including France, especially after the Malian government accused French troops of carrying out a massacre in the West African country. With no time to spare, Russian-affiliated Wagner Group got into the picture and promised to support the Malian efforts to fight Islamic terrorism that is a never-ending trouble for the country. With Russian involvement, the Malian armed forces have turned into a better trained and equipped unit compared to a few years ago. The Russian mercenary group Wagner made its first big mission in a village called Moura. The area where the village is located has been controlled for several years by militants from the Al-Qaeda-linked Group of Support for Islam and Muslims. The militants have imposed their strict rules based on Sharia law and forced the people to follow them. With this success, a kind of trust bloomed between the Malians and Russia. Moscow seized the opportunity with local frustrations growing large against France and European missteps, as the primary duty of Paris on Mali soil was to fight Islamism, in which they failed drastically. The French war in Mali, starting in 2013, was disastrous from the Malians' point of view. It neither stabilized the country nor provided a comprehensive scheme for pacifying the rebellious north. Seeing how fruitful Russia was building a fortune in Mali, Washington got concerned but could do nothing since they were mired deeply in the Eastern European War. So, it dawned on the West-led military bloc NATO to address the concern at the annual summit in Madrid about the predicament that awaits the African countries, especially Mali, if they align further with Russian interests. The Economic Community of West African States, which is more like a puppet organization of the US, has a lot of say in matters concerning Africa. So Bamako going the Russian way will affect the prospects of the Economic Community of West African States. This is precisely why NATO is on a threatening mission to make Mali untangle itself from the Russian grip. Appallingly, the story has a cameo role reserved for the unusual suspect in Spain. The Madrid summit saw Spain going in tandem with the NATO line of asking the African countries to distance away from Russia owing to the atrocities Moscow committed in the Ukraine war. But the broader side of the picture will see the heinous agenda that Spain is unfolding in Mali. Spain simply wants unrest and crisis to stay in Mali. Yeah, you heard it right. The fact is, only if there prevails an Islamic barbarity and violence, there happens an inflow of migrants into Europe. Most asylum seekers from these countries travel illegally to the southern part of Spain to work in hothouses as forced laborers. The hothouses need a large supply of cheap labor that can be turned on and off at a moment's notice. The work is irregular and arduous, with temperatures reaching 40 degrees centigrade to 45 degrees centigrade. They are unattractive to the local population, so Spain has stuck in thousands of illegal workers. The Spanish government allows those who can prove they have worked for more than 3 years to apply to become regularized. Many have done so, but tens of thousands are still in Almeria illegally, making them easy to exploit. Meanwhile, Spain asking for military intervention in Mali has been retorted fiercely by Foreign Minister Abdoulaye Diop. These remarks are unacceptable, unfriendly, serious, said Diop, because they tend to encourage an aggression against an independent and sovereign country. You see, Russia cannot afford to lose a newly found friend in Mali. Moscow will do the needed work to eliminate the radical forces from Bamako. But NATO and Spain, fishing in muddied waters, need to be looked into, and finally, it rests upon Mali to decide where to tilt to.